I'll quickly pass it on to Ivana and Ephraim, just following up on the UNCDF conversation about preparing MFIs and SACCOs in Tanzania for interoperability. Ivana?
Hi, everyone. Well, thank you very much to Ahmed and Steve. That was a great introduction for us. I don't have to give you a background on UNCDF anymore, and I can just go straight into the project and give you a little bit of an overview on something different. My name is Ivana Damjanov. I'm with UNCDF, Inclusive Digital Economies, and I work specifically in Tanzania as the country lead on inclusive digital economies. And today we'll be talking about our recently launched project on onboarding MFIs and SACCOs to the Tanzanian instant payment systems. And I think why it's interesting is actually one of the points that Ahmed just mentioned. This isn't so much, I mean, it's very technical on one hand, which Innocent will explain to us from when he talks about the Modus Box strategy. However, this is more about the business perspective and really making this a success from the business side. So now you'll get to actually see how we're doing that from here. Yeah, so in terms of Tanzania, let me just give you a little small background on interoperability in Tanzania. Most of you probably know this already, but we have had mobile money interoperability in Tanzania since 2014. Which has really launched the financial inclusion movement, or actually spurred the financial inclusion movement. And then 5 years later, in 2019, the Bank of Tanzania launched the Tanzania Instant Payment Systems Project, which is establishing a national switch, as you know, and it's based on the level 1 principles. Despite the mobile money interoperability and the higher mobile penetration, the other side is that the formal financial inclusion rates are still quite low. And we can say it's around 16.7% of the population are actually accessing formal banking services. That said, the banking sector has consolidated. Previously, there was more than 50 banks. Now we're down to 39. So it's quite stable and still moving in that direction. But the primary population are being served by MFIs and SACCOs. We have over 3,000 SACCOs in Tanzania, less MFIs. We have around a dozen MFIs, and their client base is approximately 2 million customers. So that just kind of gives you the justification on where we're focusing on SACCOs and MFIs, because what we really want to do is to level the playing field and ensure that the business case for TIPS, for the interoperable payment system, is a success. Let me see what else. In terms of the project objectives, quite simple. We're really trying to promote an inclusive financial sector by supporting specifically, we're only supporting 21 MFIs and SACCOs, help them onboard to TIPS. We'll be doing that with kind of a three-pronged approach, looking at the technical side, looking at the technology, and then also at the business side. And the business side is really trying to promote trying to get the MFIs to buy in and to understand the benefits of integrating to TIPS. So this could be something like facilitating of bulk payments. It could be about digital products and services, developing digital products and services. And it could also be about, boosting their access to capital through the savings that they can collect digitally. We'll be working with at least one payment service provider, and this is a real key stakeholder in the project. And that payment service provider will be key to creating and making this a sustainable project. Why? Because they will be the ones who will have the technical capacity to be able to integrate not only the MFIs and SACCOs that we're working with, but also the future, the other SACCOs that we're not going to be able to support during this short period of a project. We'll be developing industry guidelines. These are really to support the financial service providers, the MFIs and the SACCOs, and others behind them to understand and apply the integration requirements. We'll be working with the MFI, SACCO, and association, so at the meso level, helping them also understand the industry requirements and giving them the capacity to advocate on behalf of their members. Another key to sustainability of this project. And then finally, we'll also be working with the government, specifically, not directly, we'll be analyzing the policies and regulations and the gaps and the challenges that the MFIs and SACCOs have to integrating around policies and regulations. But then we'll also be providing some recommendations and hoping to engage with government so that the FSPs and the government have that direct link and that direct channel to discuss, and so that the stage is laid for their participation. Our approach, our implementation really centers around three key stakeholders. I mentioned one is the MFIs and the SACCOs, and really working with them on the capacity building, looking at training on level 1 principles, looking at the technological aspects by deploying a lab environment to help simulate the real-time payments, and then also on supporting the systems integrator as well. At the meso level, we're looking at the MFI and SACCO umbrella organizations, associations, including them in the project by really allowing them and having them participate throughout the whole process, so they can really understand what their members are looking for and what the challenges are that the members are facing, and so that at later stage, they can take the place of UNCDF in a sense and advocate for the MFIs and SACCOs on their own. And then on the advocacy level, we'll be analyzing and we're looking at the policy and regulation that exists right now, the business rules, to integration, and then understanding which ones are the ones that are the most challenging, which ones can be adapted, which ones need a little bit of a brush up or maybe more hands off, and then advocating to create the policy space, which is going to be more enabling for all of our stakeholders. And now let me switch it and change and give the floor to Innocent. Innocent Ephraim is from Modusbox, and who is doing our technical capacity building and trainings. Innocent, do you want to give us an overview a little bit about what the capacity work that you'll be doing?
Thank you very much, Ivana. Really appreciate. Just for the record, I'm not technical at all, and Modusbox is taking a technical role on this particular project. So I will basically cover 3 areas. What are the insights on what we're doing in capacity building, which is great, and then I'll talk about the objectives of why we're doing that, and slightly talk about what it takes to have a lab environment or building capacity to these people and who is actually targeted here. So Ivana, if you can go next. So the insights on capacity building, we will be deploying a lab environment. As Professor Ndulu, the ex-BOT governor said and advocated for the test and learn approach, we strongly believe that a lab environment will help most of the DFSPs, the technology partners, the system integrators to see how a hub and spoke lab model would actually work as they prepare to connect through the TIPS platform. And the approach we're going to take would ensure that the participating DFSPs are taken through the training even before the lab is implemented. Now, we always talk about demand and supply. As much as the demand side is important, we also consider that the kind of DFSPs we're going after, tier 1 and tier 3 MFIs and SACCOs, are working through system integrators. And because of that, it is important to recognize the importance of these system integrators, building capacity for them, enabling them and allowing them to continue providing connectivity for DFSPs and allowing transactions to flow from one DFSP to another. On the other side, we strongly believe that it is important to build local capacity if we want this kind of project to be sustainable. So that being said, we will focus a lot in making sure that the system integrators can continue doing this on their own and even bring more DFSPs on board when TIPS comes live. If you go to the next one, Ivana. Great. So what are the objectives of our capacity building activities? Ideally, our wildest ambition is to make sure that we increase flexibility and allow for business models that will create more sustainability for DFSPs. We hope that because of adoption of new business model and the fact that a hub or a switch will allow for more use cases to be brought on board. And this is just in case or at a long run when TIPS platform allows for more use cases. We strongly believe that DFSPs will have more use cases for their users, will help them change their business models, and at the end of the day, reduce their cost of offering services. We hope that this program will allow for DFSPs to have flexibility on services they offer their clients, and in the center of it is consumer protection. As much as technology is great and we're creating connectivity and all that, but at the end of the day, the end user, how is the end user protected? Is there a way to make sure that the money, the customer's money is protected and they're allowed to have transaction in a more secure and with clear conscience? We also hope that we will increase new users into the system. Like we said earlier, MFIs has been great players in the payment space in Tanzania. However, they've not been those leading players in the space. So as when you talk about the advancement of payment in Tanzania, you would actually mention the telcos with their mobile money services, the banks, and all those, but MFIs now would be great to contribute into that advancement. If we take it to the next one, Ivana. So finally, on my side, I think the one thing that we would like to mention, I think most of the teams that have been in a lab discussion, especially Steve, would be very happy to have this slide up. However, it is important to iron out the 3 important areas that would be great to be considered on such a project. We see the importance of integration, the connectivity. So for you to have a switch, you need DFSPs to connect to each other. You need to be able to create that connection from a user of one DFSP to another, and establishing a secure connection, a reliable one, and that will give users a peace of mind is critical. Then there is a business process side of things, having the customers at the center of everything that is being done. So helping DFSPs to build business processes that are designed to make it easy for the end user and create a better user experience is another area that the lab will be focusing on. But at the end of the day is the technical operations that enforces consumer protection. Hopefully, the system integrators will play this role, but most importantly, they will be able to build on top of what the lab has given them and allow for new innovation on top of it. So at the end of the day, the DFSPs would be taken through trainings in all 3 areas of the lab and allowing them to grow with TIPS when it is launched. I'll take it back to Ivana.
Great, thanks, Innocent. So then just so we don't lose perspective, I wanted to just highlight some of the larger scale outcomes that we are looking forward to, which we might not see during the scope of our project, our one-year project, but that we hope to have an impact on overall. Importantly, what we're looking to see is an inclusive financial sector. We want it to be more digital, more efficient. We're looking to support the MFIs, the SACCOs, the systems integrators, the associations to become educated advocates. MFIs and SACCOs, we want them to use TIPS, not for really to expand their digital product range and their clients. And then at the client level, we want to see women and rural populations have access to low cost and appropriate and accessible digital financial products and services. At the government level, we hope that this is just the beginning of larger scale engagement between the DFSPs and the government to create a more enabling environment. And then ultimately also we want to see this project develop a roadmap and a methodology that can be used for other countries. Tanzania is one of the leaders in interoperability, and we want to make sure that some of those lessons learned can be shared and hopefully a path to success as well. So thank you very much for your attention, and asante sana.